The farmer who defeated a king. In a faraway land, there was a small village surrounded by green fields and shining rivers. The people were simple, kind, and worked hard every day. Among them lived a young farmer named Aaron. He woke up before sunrise and worked until the sky turned orange again. His hands were rough, his clothes were torn, but his heart was full of hope. Aaron believed that honesty and hard work could feed any family, no matter how poor they were. One morning, the king's soldiers came riding into the village. Their horses kicked up clouds of dust as they shouted orders. "The king wants more tax from every farmer," they declared. The villagers were shocked. They already gave half their harvest to the royal store. "How can we live like this?" cried an old woman. But no one dared to speak against the king. Everyone bowed their heads in silence, except Aaron. He whispered, "If the king eats our food, who will feed our children?" That night, Aaron sat outside his hut, watching the stars. His wife Mira brought him a small plate of rice. "Eat," she said softly, "you worked all day." But he pushed the plate away. "How can I eat when the king takes everything?" he asked. His wife looked at him with worry. "Don't speak like that," she warned. "The king has spies everywhere." But Aaron was not afraid. Deep inside, he felt that something had to change. The next morning, he went to the village square and spoke to the people. "Brothers and sisters," he said, "we work, we sweat, we starve. But what does the king do? He sits in a palace built from our pain." The crowd listened quietly. "We can't fight with swords," Aaron continued. "But maybe we can fight with truth." The elders told him to stop, afraid of punishment. Yet a spark had already lit in every heart. A few days later, soldiers came again. They began taking sacks of grain from each house. When they reached Aaron's hut, he stood in front of the door and said, "This food is for my children. If you want it, take me too." The soldiers laughed and pushed him aside. But one soldier, a young man named Ravi, looked guilty. He whispered, "I don't like this either." That night, Ravi secretly told Aaron that the king's treasury was running low because the royal ministers were stealing from him. Aaron's eyes widened. The king was blind to the truth. Aaron decided to go to the palace. Mira begged him not to. "They will kill you," she cried. But he said, "If no one speaks, the poor will die anyway." So he walked for 3 days through forests and rivers until he reached the golden gates of the palace. The guards stopped him. "What do you want, farmer?" they sneered. "I want to speak to the king," Aaron said calmly. The guards laughed. But one old guard took pity and said, "The king listens to no one, but try if you wish." When Aaron finally entered the court, the king sat on a high throne, wearing gold and jewels. "Who dares to come before me without being called?" he thundered. Aaron bowed deeply and said, "I am just a farmer, my lord. But I bring you truth." The courtiers murmured in anger. The king raised his hand. "Speak," he said. Aaron looked straight at him and said, "Your people are starving. Your ministers are stealing. You think you rule a kingdom, but you rule only lies." The court fell silent. The ministers turned pale. One of them shouted, "Lies! This man insults the king." But Aaron reached into his pocket and threw something on the floor, a golden ring. "This was found in a bag of stolen grain from the royal store," he said. The king's eyes widened. It was his own ring, one he had lost weeks ago. The hall went cold. "Who gave you this?" asked the king. "One of your soldiers found it in the hands of your minister," Aaron said calmly. The guilty minister began to tremble. The king ordered an investigation. For days, his men searched the royal storehouses and found that many sacks of rice were missing. The ministers had been selling food in secret markets, while the villagers starved. The king was furious. He called Arun again and said, "You spoke the truth when no one else dared. What do you want as your reward?" Arun looked at him and said, "I want no gold. I only want justice for my people." The king was silent for a moment. Then he stood up and removed his golden crown. "From today," he declared, "no farmer in this land will go hungry. The taxes will be reduced, and any man who steals from the people will face my wrath." The hall echoed with cheers, but Arun simply smiled. He did not want fame, he only wanted peace in his village. When Arun returned home, the whole village came to greet him. Children ran beside him, shouting his name. Mira cried tears of joy, "You came back alive," she said, holding his hands. Arun laughed softly. "Truth keeps a man alive longer than fear," he replied. The villagers celebrated that night with songs, dancing around a fire that burned bright under the stars. Years passed, and Arun became a legend. The king often visited the village in disguise to see the people's happiness. He would sit beside Arun's field, watching him work, and say, "You taught me more than all my teachers." Arun would smile and answer, "A farmer's hands may be dirty, but his heart is clean." They shared a quiet friendship that lasted till old age. When Arun grew old and weak, he called his son close and said, "Remember, my child, a king is strong, but truth is stronger. Never let fear rule your heart." His son nodded with tears in his eyes. That night, Arun took his last breath, while looking at the fields he had once saved. The whole village gathered to light lamps in his memory. The king himself came to the funeral. He placed his golden crown beside Arun's bed and said, "This belongs to the man who truly ruled the hearts of the people." From that day, a statue was built in the center of the village, not of a king, but of a farmer holding a seed in one hand and truth in the other. Many years later, travelers would stop by the statue and ask, "Who was he?" The children would smile proudly and say, "He was Arun, the farmer who defeated a king, not with war, but with truth." And under the open sky, where the crops swayed gently in the wind, the story of the brave farmer lived on forever, a story that taught everyone that even the smallest voice can change the world.